Hey there, recording in progress. I am letting people in the room here as we go. And I was hoping that that would just automatically happen. And we should be live on Facebook at the same time. Isn't that awesome? So I'm going to go over here to my phone and just make sure that's happening. And because that would be fabulous this morning. There it is. All right, so hopefully everybody will be able to see that. Good morning. How are you guys?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good. I'm glad to see you guys. A shout out to Adrienne Bailey. She's sick this morning and she was with us last week. And we've got a lot of material to cover and it's 8:30. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I hope all of you were able to read pages 47 through 64 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And if you don't have this book, you can get it on Audible and listen to it. You can get it at the front desk. You can order it on Amazon. Just reach out to your leadership team and we'll help you find a resource for that. And I'm going to allow a couple of more people in here as we get started. And hopefully I can pay attention to that. So you guys, myth understandings. What a clever and creative way to talk about misunderstandings. And this chapter is all about fear. And fear can be an acronym. So there's two acronyms I've heard around the word fear, F-E-A-R. One is false evidence appearing real. And the other is face everything and rise. So I don't know if you've heard those two, but those are great acronyms for the word fear. And if these are some places, if you're feeling this in your business, then it's good to go back and revisit this section number 2 with myth understandings. If you've got some limited thinking, if you're having mindset issues, or if you're having trouble staying focused with time management, this is a good reread. And you guys, there was so many nuggets in this chapter. So I know that we have some folks on here that are maybe newer to business and some that are not new to business. Tell me some feedback of what went through your mind as you revisited myth understandings. Bueller? Bueller?
I'll say something.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Carol.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, just going through, it's like, yes, you can. And, you can't possibly know what you can do or what you can't do. And I've always told my kids, the answers, like if you're not going to ask a question or try, the answer is always no. So it kind of applies back to this, that try it. If you say I can't do it or it's not going to work, then it's not. So Absolutely. That was a big thing that came, I live in my world with my kids.
Well, and don't we go there? I think even if every day, that's what I love about real estate is you can give yourself a paycheck or a pink slip and every day we can reset of how we acted yesterday. And I think we all go there, even though we know this. I love this revisit to reset myself on that aim high and what fears might I have. I liked on the first page is talking about and your beliefs can lead to great confidence or they can lead to extreme doubt. So, and that Mark Twain's analogy about the cat on the lid and the cold lid and the hot lid. And I wrote down, what lids am I avoiding? Because I think they might be hot, right? And what I see a lot of times when I talk to agents that come in and ask questions, and I do this in my own life as well, is we've got fears and we're looking for others to validate them. So if you find yourself asking people a lot of questions in their opinions and you're gathering all these opinions, you're really just building a ticket as to why you're afraid of doing something is what I feel. So I think watch that when you're looking to ask questions and you're looking for evidence, right, in those myth understandings. Anyone else?
Can I ask a dumb question?
There's no dumb questions.
I'm just starting this with you guys. So what pages are you all going over?
Today, we are going over pages 47 through 64 with the myth understandings. And Wendy, I can send you my recordings for the introduction and last week. So you're not far off. But I think they're all really great standalone things. So whether you've read that or you haven't read it, you can pop in and get a good nugget for the day. So there are 6 myth understandings. And I know through in anything in life, one of them is, I can't do it. I can't do that. And of course, you don't know until you try what you can or can't do, like Janice says. And we are assigning limits to our potential when we do that. And unless you absolutely know your capabilities and limitations, why would you even entertain that inner dialogue? And I like how Gary says, we wouldn't allow someone to tell our kids, well, you're only going to be here, right? And so we're just not going to push you past that, or we're not going to encourage you to try to reach your potential. We're just going to stay in average. We're just going to live there. We would never allow our children to be put into that type of a training, right? So why do we do it to ourselves? I like one of the things on page 51. It says, once you try and achieve one thing you thought might not be possible, it becomes easier and easier, and the impossible is achievable. And of course, there were a couple of stories about, someone running a 4-minute mile and how no one thought that was even possible for humanity. And Roger Bannister did it by chunking it down into small pieces. And isn't it fascinating that once he did it, and mind you, it was 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds, right? Just right under it, that all of a sudden people have been working on it beforehand, were able to break that and even break that record. So it was about up here and not about their athletic ability. Any thoughts around that? I thought that was very interesting.
One thing, Sally, for me was, as they let the millionaire real estate agents that help book speak of how millions of dollars they were doing. I actually looked it up this morning, back in 2004.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I think that a lot of times we look at what someone else is doing, or maybe even this big number, especially when we set goals, and we want to really put a ceiling on that. Let Stevie in the room there. I love that. So those were myths, and I think that we put up a psychological wall around that. So the very last piece of the first myth understanding, it says, it's funny, but a person once pointed out to me that ultimate potential is a goalless pursuit. So you can never reach the potential. You're going to constantly be working toward that. So maximizing your potential is simply about trying and never giving up. So focus on a continual pursuit and in your thought process, that you're never going to hit that mark. You're going to keep striving for and pushing it forward. So the second myth understanding, it can't be done in my market. So how many have heard that? Or anyone said that? Because, real estate is local. And yes, it can be done in your market, but you may need a different approach. So it's kind of like the shift book. What we have done over here may stop working. We have to tweak it. And it's always good to get out of your zip code. So what are your thoughts around it can't be done in my market? Have you ever experienced that? Those of you that have been in business for a little bit, where you thought that or had someone else think it, and you've had a conversation around it?
I know in Wisconsin, door knocking in the snow is not a fun thing, nor is it necessarily safe if there's ice on the sidewalks. So you have to adjust what you do.
Yeah, and it can be done, right? It'll keep a lot of people
maybe on
from
certain
doing
days,
it.
yeah.
And you know what? And here's what I want y'all to think about. Now, a lot of times, and don't be this person, but recognize when you do it, because we're human. When someone else comes into the market and they do something that hasn't been done, do we start going, well, there must be something up with that, right? It starts being like the tomato throw, right? At the person that went a little edgy and went out there and put themselves out there to do something different. Can you think about a time when that's happened in our market, that somebody did something no one else has done?
When Keller Williams came to Chattanooga.
There you go. There's one. There's a lot of chatter about that. A lot of times people that are not willing to go the distance will throw tomatoes at people that do it, right? So you have to get past this, right? And not go, oh, well, I must be doing something wrong. Just keep pushing toward what you're working on, investigate all the pieces to it, and set a plan, and then to go, and don't listen to the noise that goes on around you.
I remember when I was on Charlotte's team, of course, the "we'll buy your house" that had never been done. That was like a shocker to everyone. And then, of course, we started with the radio, the real estate doctor. So that was kind of a thing that a lot of people weren't doing at that point either. So, you know, that kind of set her team apart. And then now you see that by lots of agents. Well,
Yeah.
anyway.
So be willing to go do that. And then I had so many things written in pink on page 54. You know, achieve, aim high, and set big models. So the first one, to overcome the misunderstanding in the marketplace, like that, enjoys a distinct advantage in their marketplace. And if you believe and your competition does not, there is one less obstacle between you and your goals. And that's a big deal. So I wrote down, small plans or the same plans equal no movement. So you might have to look at the things that you're doing. So what is your plan, and what's your implementation, and then believe you can do it, and then don't listen to the noise around you when you move forward. So go outside your zip code to find out some things that other people aren't willing to do, or that they haven't done it yet, and then go for it. So third, common myth understandings. It would take too much time and effort, and I would lose my freedom. Any ahas in that chapter for any of you? I think this goes back to that leverage piece. I've written some things down on page 56. So there's some myths and some truths around this. Activity means productivity. No, you can be active without being productive. I tell you, evaluate time spent. I don't know if you've ever done the exercise where you pay attention to what you do every 15 minutes all day long. It's very eye-opening. Now, it's time consuming, but it also can show you where you're spending time in the weeds, and you're spending more time in the 80% than the 20%. So a myth, efficiency equals effectiveness. You can do, and the truth is, you can do something very efficiently and still be ineffective. That's okay. There's a lot of truths in this chapter. Myth, more discipline means less freedom. But the truth is, discipline translates to effectiveness, which leads to accomplishment that creates more freedom, not less. So discipline just really equals, what habits are you working on right now? What are your habits in your world that create a domino run? If you've listened to the one thing or read the one thing, that domino run that gets you big results. Now jump in here anytime, you guys, if you have a comment. The next myth is justice for all. Equal time should mean equal reward. Well, the truth is, reward always comes down to who does the best job. So I wrote next to that, no entitlement. Right? So you always want to do the best, have the best customer service, and run your business with high standards, because it's not justice for all. It's he who does the best wins. Any thoughts about that?
Just points out the importance of skills, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've been talking a lot about that lately, haven't we?
Yes.
So what are you doing? What is in your daily calendar? Because if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist. And I'm talking to myself as well, to really work on your skill set to make you the best listing presentation, the best work week, the best calendar. What's your best, your thing that you're going to do this week to get better? You would be surprised what a ripple effect comes around just changing one habit and creating a skill. It makes a huge ripple effect around a lot of things in your life. So another myth, we perform best under pressure. I've heard this, I might have even said this, but the truth is, you perform best when you focus and pressure is a poor means to continually gain focus. So I circled focus and wrote 20% from the one thing. So focus on the things that matter most. And you don't need to feel the stress of pressure, and you'll gain focus. Myth, I have time. Truth, you have no idea how much time you have, so make every minute count. And isn't that true? The best laid plans go astray, right? Sometimes. So I wrote, do it now next to that with an exclamation point. So almost all of the Millionaire Real Estate agents interviewed in the book understood how to be purposeful, focused, and extremely effective with their time. So I highlighted that. And those are little pinnacle, like core things to pay attention to and create habits around. And they earned their time back by doing that. And they became experts. So a really great clarity around some misunderstandings about having to put too much time in and too much effort. And it does take work, right? With the right kind of work. Any comments?
I think anytime that you're putting, you're 100% in and you know that you're doing the work, then you're going to have success. It's when you make the excuses of what not to.
Yeah, we have a lot of excuses, right? And
Excuses.
some of them do what?
I said excuses are easy. I have a picture on my my wall right here. It says dreams weigh more than excuses. So you're either going to live the dream or you're going to live with your excuse.
Wow, that's pretty good. I love that.
I think of that red light, green light concept when you're dealing with money. And I'm thinking that that also applies to your time. If you're doing something and not getting the result, you need to rethink it and maybe change up what you're doing.
I love that, Jana. That's the first time that I've heard red light, green light applied to your time. And I think that is fantastic. A fantastic comment around that, for sure. And you do have to constantly evaluate it. And I heard that, anytime, if you've got a calendar block and someone wants to come in and take that off of your calendar, I think that you as a great script as well. When I say yes to you, I have to say no to something else. I've already said yes to a time block for this, this particular thing. And so I'm sorry, you can't say yes to everything. If we want to, human nature to please people. That you're saying you're going to say yes to someone else, and then you're saying no to your dreams and your goals and the plan that you laid. So the red light, green light, thank you that's a great segue into the fourth misunderstanding is it's too risky and I'll lose money. And the truth is risk is in direct proportion to how well you hold your incremental cost accountable to producing incremental results. And I love Gary's brain and how he says that red light, green light applies to waiting to see if the money you've spent is actually giving you a return on your investment before you spend more, and not just chasing a bunch of things and throwing money at it. And especially in a new hire, that's usually the place that most agents, when they're getting ready to hire an administrative assistant or put a leverage piece in, really worry about paying someone. Do they have enough money for that? And I loved his brain and how he thought that through. And it really wasn't, because he was going to hold that accountable to like that 90-day, 30, 60, 90-day program of, if you're not going to make it in the 90 days, I've only spent 3 months worth of this salary. So I'm not looking at that big salary piece. And that makes sense, right? And it's still sometimes remember that there's fear, and that's false evidence appearing real. And you may have to work through that. But the red light, green light, especially in the shifting market, is something we need to recognize in terms of spending money and making sure that we're getting money back for that. Anyone played red light, green light in their business lately?
So as a new agent and not making any money, I had to start somewhere. And I started doing this farming of the 300 houses. and every month. And I started out doing like lottery tickets. And like this past 2 weeks, I've been going around and I bought 400 stress footballs. So, and it was costly. Yeah. So that was, and going back, I had to make a decision. Somebody wanted to see a house on, at the start of the Vols game. And I had to make a decision. Am I going to meet him at 4:00? And I did. And we taped it. I said, nobody watched the game until I get home. And, but anyway, to go back with, so I'm putting out money and I'm like, should I continue this every month? And I have been doing it for the 300 homes and I keep farming it and I keep leaving something. And the footballs were kind of costly. And, and I made like bags out of them and this whole thing. And I'm like, is somebody going to call me and say, oh, I got this bag? And, I did have one person and it was a big sale that brought me to my capper,
Oh, wow. Okay. And that came from farming?
And that came from farming.
Good job.
In my neighborhood. And then and I did open houses and I got the buyer too. And they just liked my approach and they saw all the things I was doing as well. But so it paid off. So I feel like, okay, well, I have money from that to do next month. But, I feel like for as many homes as I've touched, I still, only one person has reached out. So I keep waiting. I'm like, how much longer do I do this to this group? So
okay. I love that you're farming, and farming is a great way, and it's a long-term thing. So when you go into a farm, that you're going to need at least 12 months to really start seeing a return. And just look at the things that you're doing. Get with me and I will tell you as a sidebar, a book to look at for a farming program and some things that you might want to consider. You can definitely find some inexpensive ways to touch them without spending a lot of money.
well, what I'm going to do for November, I'm going to go, instead of me giving them something like the lottery ticket and seeds and flags and all this, I'm going to say it's time for us to give back. And I'm going to do for the community food bank and leave them a bag and say, so, but I'm giving back to the community as well.
Would you guys like for me to ask Tim West to teach a farming class? Would that be helpful? He does a good job.
I would love that.
Wonderful. I'll reach out to him.
Thank you.
So I love that you're looking at the expenses and always look for a way to do something at a more inexpensive rate when you're doing the touches, and evaluating what your return on investment is for the thing that you're doing, for sure. So the fifth common misunderstanding is my clients will only work with me and only I can deliver quality service. And the truth is your clients aren't really loyal to you. They're loyal to the standards that you represent. So they have bought into something that you're doing that makes them have that engagement. And as long as you run your standards in a system and someone else helps you, they will still do business with you. And it's what you represent that's holding them there. It's not necessarily you having to do it. So I had a friend that would say that to me. I can't let go and have someone help me because they're not going to do it as well as I do, and my clients won't work with them. Well, those are all limiting beliefs and misunderstandings, and keeping them small. Do you guys have any thoughts about this? And have you heard anything lately that talks about standards and how customer service can play in to getting your business that edge? What systems do you have?
I struggle with this one because we know people do business with people that they know and like and trust. And so I think when you do bring somebody else on your team, it's important to introduce them properly to your sphere so that they do build that trust of that person. And because, they don't know about your systems until they experience the systems.
That is true. And I do think that having someone help you, even if you grab a showing assistant that's going to meet with your client and open a door for you, you could put in some sort of a plan of, this is how I want this to look. And this is what the Janet Johnson business does every time. And this is their experience. Are you willing to do this? And then you put that in writing. I like how they brought up Nordstrom's and Ritz-Carlton and Tavern on the Green. And at Disney, their motto was the front line is the bottom line. So, there are ways to, it's casting that vision. And you have to do a little bit of that on the front end of what that looks like. I think about Tony Baroni in Florida, who went to a class and heard Mike Hicks talk about the promise and the 5-star experience and how they've implemented that as a standard with everyone has to have scripts, and they talk about the promise through the whole process, and everyone speaks the same language. So their front line affects their bottom line. So if you've never heard about the promise, look up Tony Baroni. He's a good one too, that's doing this at a high level and making a standard as the vision for their business. So the sixth and the last misunderstanding is that myth is having a goal and not fully realizing it is a negative thing. And I have thought this and I've heard this from people. And the truth is having a goal is not trying to achieve it is a negative thing. So, I put this on Facebook and I'm going to butcher it. The cacaraphobia is the extreme fear of failure, and everybody wants to look good and be right. And just give yourself some grace, set those goals and just work your plan to hit it. And when you do that, you're going to do the best that you can with what you're doing. You're going to work hard, you're going to go for it, and you're going to get a higher place than you would have if you didn't do anything. And what I thought was really interesting is that Gary says that his parents put this picture up in his room and talked about all these failures in the row of bankruptcy, defeated, bankruptcy again. The fiance died, all the things, and it turned out to be Abraham Lincoln. And we don't ever hear about all the journey. We just notice the success at the end. And you have to put in the effort and not give up. The same thing with Thomas Edison and the light bulb and how many times he tried. A lot of times people want the monetization or the win without going the journey of getting to the win. For instance, if you see somebody and they're like, oh my goodness, they lost 100 pounds. You don't notice the 20, maybe the 30, they're working really hard. And then all of a sudden you go, wow, what do? And then when you find out what they do, you might not really want to do that, right? But it takes effort and continuous not giving up and resetting yourself to hit the goal. So don't be afraid to set the goal and go for the goal. Don't have that negative thought around, I might not reach it and then I feel like a failure. You should always try to fail, because if you're not failing, you're not going for it. And you're going to have those times. Don't let failure stop you. So tenacity is key. And the last page, the affirmations, if it's to be, it will be me. I like how Gary changed that. Did you notice he changed the words to be more powerful? It was, why not me? It will be me. If it's to be, it will be me. So it's quite possible that the most important contributor to your ultimate success will be your ability to keep moving, to make progress, and to learn as you go. So jump out there and enter the real estate sales race with confidence. And remember, you can't get anywhere if you never start. So the only true failure is quitting and not trying at all. So what I tell people going through the real estate test, because that test isn't easy and multiple times people will fail it. And I was like, if you don't give up, you're going to get it. You're going to pass it. You just can't quit. So what about you guys? How are you going to operate this week? Are you going to go for it? Are you going to stop listening to misunderstandings and all the chatter? Yes. Yes, absolutely. So next week, we start the 4 stages, and that is how we think. It's going to talk about how millionaire real estate agent business owners think and their perspective. And we want to think like that for success. So we're going to look at that, and I'll send you that information on what pages we'll talk about, because there's a lot of content on that, and I don't think we'll get through it in 30 minutes. So we're going to break it down. Any comments, any suggestions, anything you would like to see differently about how I'm styling this particular Zoom?
Nope.
All
I
right.
love
Good.
it.
I'm glad to see you guys. I'm super excited. This has been awesome. I've been looking forward to going through the MREA. And if I can serve you this week, if you have any questions, let me know. Invite a friend next time. And I hope that all of you on Facebook Live watching, if you want the Zoom link and you want to be part of the superstars right here that are rocking it, you can be too. You can be in the conversation. Guys, have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Bye.
Bye, Sally.